There are a lot of reproductive endocrine centers in the United States, but I wanted to talk about a few of the things that I think makes us unique. Now, at work the first time, and we actually put 5 embryos back because she wanted me to put 12. I regret to this day I never found out why she was so in love with the number 12. It didn't seem like her lucky number, but I thought maybe it was personal, so I didn't ask. But nevertheless, it still bugs me. But she almost didn't come to us because I wouldn't do 12. But at that time, before the Octomom situation, the maximum number of embryos we're allowed to transfer at our medical school was 5. So I had to adhere to our maximum policy. Fortunately, she only had 1. I guess what's disappointing to me is she went to 3 of the top centers in the United States. Now, maybe if they weren't thinking along the lines that the drugs themselves would have an adverse effect, from a humanitarian standpoint, this woman hyperstimulates. She makes all these eggs. Why would you subject a woman to all of these injections and the risk of ovarian hyperstimulation, where the ovaries really swell up and the person feels very ill from a lot of water retention, when you could have just simply done the frozen embryos transfer as a humanitarian thing? What'd they do with all the extra embryos? Now, there are some people who say, well, the techniques of embryo freezing aren't that good, and that you have to, maybe vitrification, this new way of freezing, wasn't available. But it's true that there were a lot of centers that had poor frozen rates, but there's some centers like our own, our frozen rate using the slow cool method, some say, are you switched over to vitrification yet? No, why should I? We get the same pregnancy rates with our technique. Of course, it's our own invention, but nevertheless, with our slow cool technique, our pregnancy rates are the same fresh and frozen, so why do I want to now switch it? But these are the 3 of the world's finest IVF centers. I'm sure that they must have had decent frozen embryo transfer rate. I don't know why they didn't do it. Now, you could argue, one case, maybe it was a lucky thing. But I want to bring this up because I want to show you a difference in attitude. I don't just try to save people money. I try to save them hassle, try to save them time. This woman was now a wealthy woman. It would be no problem for her to return from Israel and come back for another frozen transfer. But I felt that you have a child now, it's a big trip, so I said, I know you have all these frozen embryos left, because she had over 20 embryos still left, frozen. But I said that if you could go on the drug Metformin, it sometimes could make you ovulate without the fertility drug. Or I said, I've seen it happen. I know you don't even get a period at all in a year. On occasion you might get 1, but I've seen it happen in women with polycystic ovaries that after they deliver, at least for a short period of time, they might get regular periods. So take advantage of it and just make sure you use progesterone during the second half of your cycle. But she showed up at age 40 and she said, you were right. 3 months after my delivery, I got my menstrual period, and then now I've had 9 regular cycles, but I didn't get pregnant. So I came here to do the frozen transfer. And I said, oh, okay. We figured out where she was in her cycle. But I asked her, this is what happened. I asked her, what dose of progesterone were you using, out of curiosity? And she said, I forgot about the progesterone. So I wasn't going to send her back, but it turned out that they had intercourse before she left, and it was at the right time. So I put her on progesterone that cycle. And she got pregnant and had the baby. We still have her 20 frozen embryos left in the freezer. So if that's not a clear example of how powerful this little simple progesterone supplementation could be, I can't think of another example of how. We have other larger studies that do it, but sometimes one case report can prove, a point. But also, it just shows another thing, the way we look to find not just the simplest solution to save you money, but the simplest solution to save you time. So, for example, if I'm seeing somebody from out of town, how inconvenient is it to have to keep running from, say, New York City, or running from Atlanta, Georgia, to our office in Marlton, New Jersey to get your bloods and ultrasounds done? Not a problem. You can have it done locally. We can work with the information. But what if we're not doing in vitro fertilization? Are we willing to even talk to people on the telephone and direct them without even seeing them? after we've assessed their situation? Yeah, we do that all the time. But if someone needs in vitro fertilization, then fine. They can just fly in on the day of the retrieval, and depending how far they come, they could stay for the 3 days for the transfer, or they could go home and then come back again.